So, you want to buy a bearded dragon. I would say that these guys are amazing pets. I love Jack. She's my bae. And she's obviously a really healthy looking bae and is very relaxed and happy right now. I love her to death. So you want a bearded dragon. They're not a pet to buy on impulse. No pet is a pet to buy on impulse except maybe a fish, because you just clean its cage and feed it. The thing is that a lot of bearded dragons aren't taken care of properly and are put up for adoption because people buy them on impulse. They don't realize how expensive they are, especially as babies. She's easy now, but in the beginning she was not easy. As a baby, I fed her 3 times a day, and I think I spent almost $70 a week. And that was for the first, I would say, 3 months. Then it went slowly, I fed her less after that. But she was really expensive in the beginning. She's very, very cheap now, and in fact, I'll probably spend $30 on her a month. That's as much as like a dog or a cat you would. I mean, maybe less. It just depends. She'll brumate for 5 months, and I won't see her for 5 months. She'll just sleep because it's winter time. Not all dragons brumate, though. You have to take that in consideration. You may get a bearded dragon that doesn't sleep at all during brumate. I'm saying it doesn't hibernate. So they're really chill animals. I take her out every day. If you don't take care of a bearded dragon's needs, basically, if you don't take care of a bearded dragon's needs, they're not gonna like you. They're gonna hiss at you. They're gonna bite you. They're an animal. They're pretty much like all animals. If you don't take care of them properly, they're gonna be pissed at you and not like them. Not like you. I'm sorry. I take her out every day for about 5 minutes, and some days even longer. Yes, some days even longer. I'm gonna put her down. She's gonna fall in the sink. Bad idea. But yeah, put her down, guys. Anyway, say bye, Jack. So I'm gonna let her run around the house for a while. But basically, when they're young, they're very expensive. People don't understand how much the cage costs, which is usually around $300 for a proper setup, not including lighting, UVB bulbs, which provides UVB, it's essential. It's a radiation from the sun that they would get if they were living outside. If they don't have that, they will get metabolic bone disease, which is a big deal, and they won't live very long or be able to walk or be a healthy bearded dragon. They also need a heat lamp and a UVB bulb tube, not a bulb, a tube light too, is necessary. Probably a Repti-Sun one is what I would recommend. And you need to change that out every 6 months. If you're not using it and she's brumating, you turn it off until she wakes up. Or he, whatever your bearded dragon is. And you also need a UVA bulb, which is a heat bulb. That's essential also for a bearded dragon. Sorry, I'm just checking out what she's doing. Also, collard greens, mustard greens, dandelion greens are required. It must be given every single day. One of those 3. And with calcium dust on them and watered down. This is an everyday routine. You don't, when they're adults, past a year to a year and a half, I would say a year and a half just to be safe. They don't need bugs every day. I feed her bugs probably twice a week. Sometimes 3, but that's because I spoil her when they're babies every single day, probably all the way up to a year old. They're not easy. 3 times a day too. 3 times a day, every single day for a full year. Do you have that commitment is the question. Most people don't. That's the proper way to take care of an animal. The way I see it is these are supposed to be wild animals that live in Australia. We are taking them in captivity. We need to treat them and offer them food in their growing stage as often as possible, because in the wild, they don't sit there and wait for a human to feed them. They get it on their own when they're hungry. So you have to take that into consideration and treat an animal to the best ability and spoil them. Every animal should be spoiled. So if you don't have the time, the energy to deal with a bearded dragon, don't get one. 5 days or 5 minutes a day to 10 minutes a day is not much to hold her. She just kind of chills or runs around the house and gets some exercise. They will get mean if you don't handle them. If you don't handle a bearded dragon, or when you have them out, you're traumatizing them and you know, not building a good relationship with an animal, it's not going to like you. That's the same thing for bearded dragons. And if you're not taking care of them properly with their cage, if you don't clean their cage, if you don't do anything, they will get mad at you. Now, they're not going to build a close relationship to you like a dog or cat would. You'll be more so like their favorite rock, which I'm perfectly okay with. I am too busy to really deal with an animal that needs more than that. I'm checking her out right now. She's adorable. But I would say that don't buy a bearded dragon on impulse, because there already are so much for adoption, because people do that and don't realize the requirements for an animal, especially a reptile. I mean, you need to properly know how to take care of a reptile before you get one. And understand that if, for example, some people say you need to clean their cages once a month or once a week. Well, with my bearded dragon, if I'm not home and she takes a crap, she's going to put it all over the cage because she needs attention. She gets whatever. I think, honestly, she gets kind of cranky because I'm not home, and she'll spread the shit all over the cage, and so I have to clean her cage almost every single day. That's also a commitment. Bearded dragons also need a vet checkup once to twice a year for a parasite check. And they can be very fragile animals, believe it or not. They may get really sick and not make it, and that's really sad. But most of the time they are fragile because people don't take care of them properly or do their research. So if you have any questions on a bearded dragon, or are curious where to get one, or what should I do, yada yada, you can leave it in the comments and I would love to answer them. And if you have any questions about Jack or want to see videos on Jack, just let me know. Thanks, guys.